So you think you know something about Sweden? Think again, buddy. Sweden is divided into 25 different counties, and each county has its own dialect, its own customs, and its own history. Everyone knows about Stockholm, filled with self-important people who think that anyone actually cares about the capital of Sweden. But there's more, so much more. Places that used to belong to Denmark, places that used to belong to Norway, and places where people don't speak, but say instead. Come along as I guide you through the different counties of Sweden. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Skåne or Scania used to be Danish up until 1658, and that's still very obvious because they can't speak proper Swedish. Other Swedes often call people from Skåne spare Danes, and they share a lot of cultural similarities with Denmark. Except that all of Denmark is fiercely anti-immigrant, and they try to keep the immigrants away, while a third of Malmö's population are immigrants. And that number becomes around 50% if you count people who have at least one foreign parent. The rest of Skåne is filled with farmland and not much else. Oh right, outside of Malmö there's also a lot of racists. For some reason, skåningar, that's people from Scania, are really proud and almost a bit arrogant. Malmö is Sweden's third biggest city, and Lund has Sweden's second oldest university. That's pretty good, but it's not like they have all that much else to brag about. Things to do in Skåne include visiting Arnold's Cannibal Museum, checking out the Disgusting Food Museum, and traveling over the Öresund Bridge to Denmark. Blekinge, on the southeastern coast of Sweden, is known for two things: the UNESCO World Heritage City of Karlskrona and Sweden Rock Festival. Every year, 40,000 metalheads gather outside the town of Sölvesborg to get drunk, sleep in muddy tents, and sometimes even listen to some heavy metal. For some reason, Sweden Rock Festival didn't want to give me a press pass so I could get drunk at their expense, but I'm still gonna go there this year. Blekinge also used to be Danish up until 1658, but they've acclimatized a lot better to Sweden than Skåne. Karlskrona is a lovely city to visit, especially the Maritime Museum. That's also a great place to learn more about the Whiskey on the Rocks incident when a Russian submarine went aground. That caused quite a bit of an incident in 1981, and Sweden almost went to war with Russia over it. Aside from that, there's not really all that much to say about Blekinge. Småland is home to stingy and stubborn people, and lots of people from Småland left for America in the 1800s. There's a bunch of different castles to look at in Småland, and you can also visit the IKEA museum in Älmhult. Other things to do in Småland includes visiting the Astrid Lindgren theme park if you want to see a real-life Pippi Longstockings. Or you can go on a moose safari. There's a lot of moose in Småland. Unlike the other two counties I mentioned so far, Småland didn't used to belong to Denmark, and there's been a bit of rivalry between the Swedish Småland and the previously Danish Skåne. In fact, there's a group of people called Spettets Vänner who want to physically cut away Skåne from the rest of Sweden and send it back to Denmark. It's rumored that they gather once per year to chop away at the border between Skåne and Småland. And strangely enough, they're often joined by people doing exactly the same thing from the other side. Öland is Sweden's second biggest island, and these days it's famous for its beaches and its windmills and for its unique nature. But in the 1800s it was known as a place full of murderers and criminals. Basically Sweden's Australia. Of course, that was just propaganda, mostly from people living in Stockholm. Soliden Palace can be found on Öland, and it's a common summer getaway for the royal family. That's where Crown Princess Victoria celebrates her birthday every year, and thousands of royalists gather there to get a glimpse of her. You can also see tons of fat beachgoers and camel farmers and sea stacks and lots of other cool features, like the limestone plains and Neptune's fields. They say that around 20,000 people live on Öland, but it's hard to tell because it's always full of tourists. And speaking of full of tourists, next we have Gotland, Sweden's biggest island. If Öland is full of tourists, then Gotland is flooded instead. Which is a bit ironic because they often struggle with water shortages because of all the tourists coming there all throughout summer. Gotland is famous for the medieval city of Visby, for the medieval week, and for the island of Fårö, where Ingmar Bergman lived. You know, the director behind movies like The Seventh Seal and other uplifting tales. The island has been important for trade and commerce for hundreds of years and for military reasons. People speculate that it's the first place that Russia will attack if they ever decide to move against Sweden. So yeah, enjoy Gotland while you can, before it's completely run over by tourists or by Russians. Halland is full of beaches, and the county has been passed around a bit between Sweden, Norway and Denmark. I guess because each country wanted to have some nice beaches, because there's not really much else to talk about when it comes to Halland. Halmstad is a pretty well-known city, and you also have places like Varberg and Falkenberg. Falkenberg means Falcon Mountain in Swedish, and it's the location of the Falcon Brewery. Halland is also where you find Gekås Ullared, the world's biggest department store. Or so they say. That's of course complete rubbish, it's not the biggest in the world. I don't know where they get the gall to call it that, but it is pretty big. But yeah, I guess that's it for Halland. Let's move on to Västergötland, north of Halland. You can't talk about Västergötland without talking about Gothenburg. Or I guess you could, but it would be pretty useless, wouldn't it? Gothenburg is Sweden's second biggest city, and it's known as a more laid-back and friendly place than Stockholm. I call BS on that, but then again I would because I'm from Stockholm, and we have a bit of rivalry going on. Gothenburg has a lovely archipelago, even if it's not as good as the one in Stockholm, and there's also a lot of nice nature in general in Västergötland. And also Volvo was founded in Västergötland. By the way, Volvo is Latin for I roll. I bet you didn't know that. But there's more to Västergötland than Gothenburg. There's also cities like Skövde and Alingsås, and lots of lakes and castles, and lots of cool stuff. I really can't say any bad things about Västergötland, even if it's where Gothenburg is located. It's a beautiful part of Sweden with a lot of history. Västergötland means Western Götaland, and let's look a little bit east from there to the very unimaginably named Östergötland. Östergötland means Eastern Götaland, and Götaland used to be the land of the Götar before Sweden was a unified country. Another tribe that lived east from there was called Svear, but we'll get back to that name later. Anyway, Östergötland is known for its plains and for having a very stupid dialect, especially around the areas of Mjölby and Linköping. Linköping? Sorry, I can't really do it, even if I lived there for 11 years. Aside from the plains, there's also a canal running through the county called Göta Kanal. It was a marvel of engineering back in the 1800s, but these days it's pretty much useless for transportation. It's only used in summer when rich bastards can show off their boats and when people can hang out and look at the many locks along the canal. Bohuslän lies on the border to Norway and it has an amazing coastline. There used to be a lot of fishing in the area, and Smögen is a really popular destination with its famous jetty. And Strömstad lies right next to Norway, so lots of Norwegians come over the border to buy cheap stuff in Sweden. Rich bastards, but I guess that I can't complain that they're spending all their dirty oil money in Sweden. There's also a set of famous rock carvings in Tanumshede. And if you know anything about Sweden, you know that we have produced a lot of crime novel authors. And one book in particular took place along the Bohuslän coast, the Fjällbacka Murders. To the east of Bohuslän, you find the county of Dalsland, and it's one of the most useless counties in Sweden. Sorry all Dalsland people, but there really is nothing interesting there. It's called a miniature Sweden because of its varied nature, so I guess that's something at least. But then again, other counties are also called that. Visit Dalsland if you want to see nice nature and no people, because no one ever finds a reason to travel there. Oh wait, there's one thing to mention about Dalsland, the town of Åmål. Made famous from the movie Fucking Åmål, every Swede knows the phrase, "Why do we have to live in fucking damn cock Åmål?" From Dalsland we travel north to the county of Värmland, famous for wolves and forests and for authors like Selma Lagerlöf and Gustav Fröding. Not that you've ever heard of those authors unless you're a Swede. There's a lot of spectacular nature and some well-known industries in Värmland. The snack manufacturer OLW lies in Värmland, for example, and also Bofors. They make big guns. Karlstad is the biggest and most important city in Värmland, but you also have a lot of small towns like Grums. Now, why am I talking about a tiny place like Grums? That's because it's the municipality with the highest number of people offing themselves in Sweden. Uplifting stuff, isn't it? Värmland may be beautiful, but yeah, it does have its issues. I'm turning my gaze to the east now, to the county of Västmanland, which means men of the west, which is a bit weird because it lies in the center of Sweden horizontally. In Västmanland you find Sweden's biggest silver mine in Sala, and also Sweden's second ugliest city, Västerås. There's also Arboga, which brews horrible beer, and there's a lot of mining history in the county. A lot of mining history. Oh, and let's not forget about all the Viking and pre-Viking remnants at Anundshög outside of Västerås. Completely amazing stuff. Right next to Västmanland you find Närke, a pretty small county. It shares a lot of history with Västmanland, and both of these counties is sort of in the heart of Sweden. I mentioned the tribe of Götar before, but now we're in Svear territory instead. Or at least we would have been more than 1,000 years ago. Närke is most famous for the city of Örebro, with its magnificent castle in the center of the city. It's an absolutely gorgeous sight and well worth a visit. The whole area of Närke used to be rich and powerful because of all the mining that took place here. But now they're just known as the people with Sweden's whiniest dialect. Moving east we come to Södermanland, south of Stockholm. It's spelled Södermanland, Southmanland, but you pronounce it as Sörmland. Don't believe anything when it comes to Swedish spelling and pronunciation. In Sörmland you find a lot of mansions and castles, such as Gripsholm Castle that contains the world's derpiest lion. The king was given a lion skin in the 1700s, and he gave it to a taxidermist who had never seen a lion, and, well, he did his best. You can also find the cozy little town of Trosa, which means panty in Swedish. it's known as the end of the world. But yeah, let's not dwell too long on Södermanland, because we have something special coming up next. Uppland is the crown jewel of Sweden. And I don't care if you don't agree with that. Uppland is where Stockholm is located, so screw you. Uppland is the cradle of Sweden, and aside from Stockholm, you can also find the historical towns of Sigtuna and Uppsala here. Sigtuna is Sweden's oldest city, and Uppsala is a place where you can find a lot of Viking remnants and burial mounds. This area of Sweden has the best archipelago, the biggest cities, and the most interesting history. It's also filled with the most obnoxious and arrogant people, as you can tell. You can basically divide Sweden into two parts, the people who live in Stockholm and the filthy peasants who don't. Nah, but seriously, it really is a significant area with a lot of history. Stockholm was founded in 1252, but there was also a lot of interesting history before that as well. And a lot of it centers around this area of Sweden. There is really no denying the significance of Uppland, both in the past and the present. The county of Dalarna has a lot of cool stuff, like painted horses called Dalekalian horses and an annual ski race called Vasaloppet. It's also famous for its midsummer celebrations and for Anders Zorn, an artist who liked to paint fat nude women. The whole county centers around Lake Siljan, where you find towns like Mora and Orsa and Rättvik. Orsa and Rättvik in particular are famous for a lot of folk music. And you can also visit the crisp bread factory at Leksand. And let's not forget about the town of Falun, the Falu copper mine, hockey teams, and a lot of amazing nature. Dalarna is known as the most traditionally Swedish county in Sweden, and they can feel a bit superior because of that. The problem is that they're right. Dalarna really is the heart of Sweden. Smug bastards. The city of Gävle was called Sweden's Chicago a few decades ago because of its rampant crime, and Gävle can be found in Gästrikland. Other than Gävle, there's not really a lot to say about this county. It lies between Dalarna and Uppland, and it belongs to northern Sweden, but the people living there refuse to accept that. They want to pretend that they belong to the middle of Sweden instead, but nope, they're northerners, just accept it. I guess that I could mention Hofors as well, a town whose only claim to fame is that the punk band Radioaktiva Räkor comes from there. Anyway, there's nothing more to say about Gästrikland. Let's move further north. Hälsingland was mentioned in the English poem Widsith from the 900s, so it's pretty old. In the 1500s it was famous for goat herding, and today it's not famous for anything at all. There's a lot of wild nature in the area, and skiing and wolverines. You can tell that the landscape is starting to become northern Sweden, but it's still in the borderlands between the two areas. To be honest, this isn't much of an interesting county either. Most people just drive past it to get to Ångermanland in the north. But what's so special about Ångermanland? This is where you find the high coast, a spectacular and beautiful coastline filled with activities and amazing sights. Some people say that this is the most beautiful area of Sweden, and there's also a lot of interesting tourist attractions. Like Mannaminne, a collection of really weird museums with a lot of cool stuff to see. But all is not well in Ångermanland. These people have a morbid fascination for rotten fish. You may have heard about surströmming, the infamous Swedish fermented fish. Well, this is a prime area to expose yourself to that vileness. It's a wonder that the whole county doesn't smell. But wait a second, I forgot about a county between Hälsingland and Ångermanland. Medelpad lies in between those two. That's where you find the city of Sundsvall, and Sundsvall is actually quite lovely. I've stolen towels from a spa there. Shh, don't tell anyone. So what can you do in Medelpad? That place is all about nature and hiking, and not much else. Sorry all Medelpadians, this is yet one more pretty forgettable county. You saw, I forgot about it when talking about Hälsingland and Ångermanland. And even the pristine nature isn't all that special, because that's gonna be true for all the counties up north. But anyway, let's switch things up a bit. Let's look to the west instead. Härjedalen is the least populated county in Sweden, and it lies inland. So yeah, now I've moved away from the coast. Only 10,000 people live there, but there's a lot of people visiting the county, especially in winter. This is where you find some of Sweden's best skiing at places like Funäsdalen, Vemdalen and Lofsdalen. You don't have to try to pronounce those names, but I have to warn you, all of the names are gonna get a lot harder as we move further north. Speaking of skiing, Jämtland is where you find Åre, Sweden's most popular ski resort. Every year it's infested with people from Stockholm who come there to ski a lot and party even more. Jämtland is also where you find the town of Östersund, and in Östersund you find the Great Lake Monster. Or at least that's what the tales say. If you're into spooky stuff, Borgvattnets prästgård can also be found in the area. It's Sweden's most haunted house, and you can even spend the night there if you're not faint of heart. Oh, and if you want to see Sweden's most sudden glacier, you can hike to Helags. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's really popular in summer. In winter, not so much. Now we're starting to get into proper northern territories. Västerbotten is famous for a lot of weird northern food. Cloudberries and reindeer and a special type of Västerbotten cheese, for example. Oh, and traditional Swedish flatbread, the soft kind, not the crisp bread. People have lived in the far north for a long time, thousands of years, but it used to be really sparsely populated. It still is today, but it used to be even more so. The most significant cities in Västerbotten are Skellefteå and Umeå, but neither of the cities are particularly significant. I've stopped in Umeå several times, but I can never find anything useful to say about the city. Let's continue north instead, to Norrbotten. This area is populated by stoic northerners who speak in monosyllabic phrases, if they speak at all. These are people who don't use the word yes. Instead, they say and the differences between Sweden and Finland becomes extremely loosely defined in the borderlands to the east. This is where you find cities like Piteå and Luleå and small towns like Haparanda and Pajala. People in Sweden don't drink a lot of tequila sunrise, but we have a drink called Pajala sunrise instead. You take a glass of booze, you place one lingonberry in the booze, and then you garnish it with a slice of Falu sausage. And there's a variant of that as well, called Pajala sunburn. Then you fry the Falu sausage before you garnish the drink. It's a harsh and unforgiving county, and this is where you find a lot of Sami people, the indigenous people of the Nordic polar regions. But we have one county left to talk about, and it's a big one. Lappland is Sweden's biggest county by area, by far. It's basically a fourth of all of Sweden, but less than 100,000 people live there. The nature in Lappland is completely amazing, and it's filled with some of the most impressive national parks in Sweden. But that's wild nature. People get lost there, and people die. You can also find Sweden's tallest mountain there, Kebnekaise, and Sweden's most northern restaurant in the town of Karesuando. And the city of Kiruna recently made headlines all over the world when they moved the entire church to make room for a new mine. You also have towns like Jokkmokk, famous for its market and for Sami culture, and Abisko, where people try to see the northern lights. If you want to experience proper Swedish nature, then this is an area you want to go to. But if you want to have civilization, then this is not a place for you. It's a vast area, and towns are few and far between, and many places don't have paved roads at all. However, there's still tourism, a lot of it. Thousands of people hike Kungsleden or Kebnekaise, and thousands of people visit the Ice Hotel. And people go dog sledding or visit the Tree Hotel or many other famous attractions. It takes time to travel to Lappland, but it's definitely worth it. And that was all of Sweden. Sweden may seem like a small and monocultural place at first glance, but I hope that this gave you a little bit of an insight into the differences between different areas. Like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day.